Hello and welcome from the Journey Museum and Learning Center. My name is Christine, and today I'm going to be answering the question, why do leaves change color in the fall? So, you may have experienced the tree turning from green to yellow, or orange, or red during the fall time. But did you know that the yellow colors that suddenly appear were actually inside this leaf the entire time? You see, what we are seeing with this green is green chlorophyll. And that chlorophyll is the more dominant color, and it actually masks the yellows and oranges inside a leaf. So here's what I mean. Take a look at these leaves right here. They're green. But when winter comes and the days get shorter in the autumn, the trees kind of sense that winter's coming. So what they do is the chlorophyll that's already in the leaves break down, and they actually reveal the other colors that are inside. So here we have orange. That green is basically covering up the color that was there all along. So in the summertime, when you see a leaf, that orange, that yellow is already there. It's just covered by the green chlorophyll. Now, when you have a tree that has red leaves, unlike the others, the red actually does get produced from the sugars that are there. So the red pigment's actually created after the fact. So the sugars in the leaves react with other chemicals, and that's what forms the red. But yellows and oranges are there all along. But let's prove this today with a science experiment. So if you want to follow along at home and do this experiment as well, you'll just need a few items. You'll need some hot water, a jar, about maybe 3 leaves or more if they're smaller. Make sure the leaves all come from the exact same tree, some rubbing alcohol, coffee filters, either a plastic baggie or saran wrap, maybe some scissors to be able to cut those coffee filters, and some sort of bowl to hold the hot water. All right, well, let's get started with our experiment. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these leaves, put them inside the jar, and break them down. So I've put the leaves inside the jar. Notice that when I broke them up into pieces, they're really, really tiny pieces of the leaves that I've placed into the jar. Also, I chose not to include the stems or the veins of the leaves in mine. Once you have your leaves inside your jar, you're going to take your rubbing alcohol and you're going to pour it over the leaves just until it covers them. Then I'm taking in just a normal knife and I'm going to smash it around and mash it until it turns the rubbing alcohol green. Okay, I've taken the time to mash my leaves, and you'll want to give it a really good mashing. Be patient here, it takes a while. Basically what you want to happen is for that, you can see here on the video, that liquid, that rubbing alcohol is just slightly green. That's the key. After this is done, you're then going to cover it with either a plastic saran wrap, or I'm using a baggie, and I'm going to secure it in place with the rubber band. Then I actually have already prepared a bowl here with some hot water, and I can even get some more water here. And if I place my jar inside the water and pour the water around it. Basically what you want to do is keep this inside of the water for at least 30 minutes. And you'll want to open it up, stir the leaves occasionally. It should turn a very dark green color. Now, if you can, try to go for 45 minutes or even an hour. That's actually my plan. I'm going to try to go for an hour and I'll show you the results. Okay, I am back and I ended up waiting an hour and a half for my leaves to sit inside of the rubbing alcohol here. About half hour in, I changed this hot water out to fresh hot water just to make sure it remained nice and hot. Basically, you'll know you've done this long enough if you look at the rubbing alcohol and it's a darker green than before, you know you've waited long enough. Now the next step is I took a coffee filter and I just cut a strip from it. I used the middle part of the strip so it's nice and long. Now, if you have a shorter jar than I have, you're going to have an easier time with this. I chose a rather long jar, and since I chose a long jar, I'm going to have to use some tape to keep mine in place. The key here is to take this filter, and the filter needs to touch that rubbing alcohol at the bottom. So I have some masking tape, and I'm just going to tape mine in place. Again, you may not need the tape if you have a nice short jar. Now I play the waiting game one more time. I'm going to wait another hour, and what should happen is this rubbing alcohol should start to make its way up the filter within an hour, and I'm hoping to see some colors on here to see the science behind that chlorophyll. Does it actually leave behind a yellow or an orange leaf color? If it does, my filter should have some of those colors showing up on here. Let's wait an hour and find out. I am now taking out my strip from the alcohol, and as you can tell, there is some green and some yellow, which tells me that when these leaves turn in the fall, they will be yellow because there was yellow there all along. The chlorophyll just covered it up. Perhaps you can try this experiment at home as well with some trees around your house and find out what color is hidden beneath.